Good morning and Shabbat Shalom, everyone. This week's Torah portion discusses at great length the beautiful mitzvah of tzedakah, of charity. And I want you to know that the word tzedakah is not really charity. Because the word tzedakah, the root of the word is tzedek, which means justice. Charity is something that I'm going above and beyond my responsibility, my duty, my moral obligation. It's my hard-earned money, and I'm going to be so nice and give you some of it out of my goodwill. But the Jewish version of tzedakah is that it's justice. And therefore, if you withhold charity, you have the ability to help another person and you don't. It's not just that you weren't charitable or kind or generous. It's that you committed an injustice because God entrusted part of that poor man's money with you to deliver, to transmit to him through you. And if you withhold it, it's actually committing an offense against the poor man. When the Torah talks about the mitzvah of tzedakah, the Torah says, there will always be poor people in the land, and therefore I am commanding you to open your hand and give to the poor man, to your fellow man, to your brother. And the Torah says, don't feel bad when you give charity, but on the contrary, be happy, because in the merit of this mitzvah of charity, of tzedakah, you will be blessed. When the Torah commands us to give tzedakah, the Torah says, Al kein anochi mitzavcha, therefore I am commanding you, lemor, saying, open up your hand to the poor, to the destitute, and to the needy. And the question is, why does it say the word lemor? I'm commanding you, saying. The word lemor appears hundreds of times in the Torah, but it's usually at the end of a verse. And Almighty God spoke to Moses, lemor, saying, meaning that Moses should take these instructions and say it to the Jewish people. But in this context, what does it mean? Therefore, I'm commanding you, saying, lemor, open up your hand to the poor and to the needy. And a beautiful Hasidic interpretation goes like this. When you give the poor man charity, don't just give him a handout and think of him as being someone who will be permanently poor, but rather believe in his ability to raise himself out of poverty. A lot of times we think about welfare, people who for the rest of their lives are going to be reliant on welfare. The Jewish idea of charity is to help a person get out of poverty. And therefore, when you give him the charity, I'm commanding you, lemor, saying, say to the poor man, listen, right now you're accepting, you're receiving, but one day, pasoach tiftach, you will open your hand and you will give charity to the poor. Yes, there will always be poor people, but you won't be one of those people. You will be successful one day. You will accomplish and succeed, and you will be able to be the one who gives to others. Believe in that poor man's potential to not always have to be a recipient, but to one day be a giver, to be able to help others. And that's the ultimate goal of charity, to see the potential in the poor person. And poor is not only in money, of course it's primarily in money, but in any area that a person is needy or lacking, see their potential to transform their situation. And charity is such a fundamental idea. We all know the beautiful tradition of a tzedakah box, a charity box. Every home, every child's bedroom should have a charity box. From the earliest age, we teach people, children, this fundamental lesson of always being able to give to others, but in a way that makes them become a giver themselves. You know, here in Palm Beach, you often see beautiful cars. And two of the most popular cars, of course, is Ferraris and Lamborghinis. But there's an interesting history to the Ferraris and the Lamborghinis. You see, back in the 30s, there was a man in Italy by the name of Enzo Ferrari. And he had this amazing car, Ferrari, was top of the line, most popular sports car. And then there was a man by the name of Ferruccio Lamborghini. And he worked in a tractor company. And he had an idea of how to make a better sports car. So he went to the owner of Ferrari, Mr. Enzo Ferrari, and he said, listen, hire me. I have an idea how I can improve your cars and make them even better. And Enzo Ferrari basically laughed at him and said, you work with tractors, what do you know about sports cars? I'm doing just fine. My car is great. Well, Ferraris Lamborghini decided to go out and design his own car. And sure enough, he created the Lamborghini. And today everyone knows that Ferraris are great, but Lamborghinis are far superior. The lesson is, when you look at another person, don't think you're any better. On the contrary, maybe that poor man or maybe that person standing in front of you has the potential not just to become a giver, but one day to be a giver to you. You may be in a position that you may be able to gain from them. And therefore be humble when you give. And look at that person and say, listen, I know that you will be a giver one day. And maybe I will also be so lucky to be a recipient of what you achieve and accomplish. And when you see the Lamborghini in every person, and you realize that every person can be great, then you help people raise themselves up and become successful. Have a wonderful day.